You do share a little bit about your husband, Jonas, and your relationship seems so sweet. And I wonder if you can tell us, if you're comfortable, what was it about him that stood out? Like what was it that drew you to him?
Yeah. So honestly, it's going to sound so silly, but he told the truth. And that was like something I had not encountered in a partner where everything that came out of their mouth was like the truth. And it blew my mind. Like the fact that was the bar, number one, like, okay, that's really sad. But number two, like I've had so many people in my life be dishonest to me, whether it was like a romantic partner or like somebody that I should have been able to trust and didn't. And like, I couldn't. And like I remembered, the way we connected is kind of bizarre, but we ended up talking long distance, and he ended up buying me a ticket to go to Kansas to spend basically a whole week together, decide if we wanted to date. Because I was like, I don't want to keep talking to this person there's no possible way we'll be together. It's wasting my time and wasting my emotional energy. I think we should stop talking. And he's like, you need space? Perfect. I'm going to buy you a ticket to Kansas and you can come spend the week with me. Awesome. So I did that. And I remembered he had told me all of these stories of him as like a kid in high school and middle school that he did not have to be honest about. Like there would never be a moment that would have been like fact checked. Do you know what I mean? And like, I was sitting at dinner with his family and his mom like goes into this story about him in high school. And it was the same story that he told me. And I was just, my mind was blown that he told me the truth. And it was like, I just had this immediate trust in him as a person. And ever since then, like that has just been proven in everything he does. And that little nugget of like, he's a truth teller. He's an honest person. Like he is who he says he is. Like he comes home when he says he's going to come home. He like will pick you up when he says he's going to pick you up. Like he'll do something that he says he's going to do. Like that's a big deal to be able to just have that kind of trust in somebody. That's a safe person. That's somebody that you can rely on, that you want your kids to be like. Like that's a very powerful thing that I just feel like you miss in a lot of like day-to-day interactions, just with the way people exaggerate their life or their stories. And like, you just don't get a lot of that. And so that was one of the big things that when I saw him, I was like, man, I want that kind of person in my life. If it's not you, then I will remember that forever and, you know, carry that on to the next person I date. And it was him, and I love him so much. But yeah, just the fact that he told the truth.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
I just read this quote yesterday that really struck a chord with me. And it was, trustworthiness is the greatest portal leading unto the tranquility and security of the people. And I was like, whoa, that's true. Yeah. Like,
how did you remember that? I'm like just impressed that you like memorized
I know, I am too, actually.
That's a good one.
No, but it's so simple, but it's true. Like just being able to trust someone at their word, like you were saying, being able to know that you're going to also follow through, not just that you're telling me the truth about your past or your present, but that you say you're going to do something, you're actually going to follow through and do it, is a really underrated quality, and it's not easy to find. So
no, especially like with people that I dated that like would even say like, I love you, and then they would not talk to you for 3 days. You're just like, I just always felt like I was not the right person. It wasn't like those people weren't right. It was like there was something wrong with me. And the fact that like when he would look at me and he would be like, I love you and I want to be in your life as long as you'll let me. Like I knew he actually meant that. And I was like, oh my God, this person actually wants to be with me. Like that's a really cool thing. And so yeah, I agree that trustworthiness is just something that you don't come by like so pure. Like it's just if like in such a pure way and raw form like that, like you don't see it a lot. And so when you do see it in someone, it's very special.
That's really powerful. I was thinking, I've never shared the story on the podcast, but the like first like serious like fell in love. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional. Person that I had, I had like never said I love you to anyone. It was like a something that I was like guarding, I guess. And he like told me that he loved me, and I told him that I loved him, and then he ghosted me. Yeah. And I felt so betrayed. And like and he like, we talked about it years later, and he didn't understand the like betrayal in it. But I was like, no, that's a betrayal. Like you expressed something that you didn't mean, and like got me to express it. And then I found out many years later that he was like dating, like he had a girlfriend, they'd broken up when he like reached out to me, and then they got back together, and he just didn't have the courage to tell me. And I was like, that also would have been better. Like it would have, because then I just wondered like, why? Like, is it that I expressed it? Is that why you lost interest? Like, should I still have kept that hidden? Anyway, so
well, then you really carry that fear with you the next relationship you go into, because then you're like, the last time I literally gave this person all of my emotional like availability, they just left me. So then you're like, I don't want to do that again. And then it just not being able to trust somebody to maintain what they say when they say they love you or want to be in your life, like it really can like really mess you up like in a really big way. And it just takes one person. It's not even something that has to be repeated. It can be one event that can like just really mess you up relationally going forward. And so, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. My mom always says that you should make decisions when the pendulum has settled, like often people will feel really extremely. They'll feel, there's moments where you feel really in love and swept off your feet. And there's moments where you feel really angry and upset and heartbroken. But that like, it's when, I think it's when you meet someone.
When you feel nothing.
Like just when you feel calm,
empty,
like tranquility. That quote that I mentioned, like trustworthiness leads to tranquility and security, and like those two feelings, I feel like people shy away from them. They're like, oh, it's boring, but it's not actually.
So
if it's boring, it's boring. That's not tranquil and secure. That's boring. Like don't be bored.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point.
In fact, the extremes should be getting boring. I think we've explored those quite a lot.
I'm good with like no more emotional turmoil. Like I'm good. Let's just figure the middle ground out. I think it's funny when people realize like when they stop, like for me in a relationship, I remembered like chasing this one dude that he just like would back and forth like all the time, like the same dude that would like, just confess how much he loved me and like I'm like gonna save his life, and then would like run away for a year and then come back, and it was always when I was happy. He just could like sense that I was like happy. Just did that for like 8 years. It was wild.
Wow.
And like I mistook that passion, that feeling of like drop everything and be with this person, like to my detriment. That chaotic like passion for I mistook that for like what love was. And so when I didn't feel that with somebody, I was like, I just don't feel love. It. That spark isn't there. And it's like, is it a spark or is it like emotional manipulation? Like, because that's important distinction. And like, when I realized those are not the same things, like that was kind of a game changer for me in moving into a healthy relationship. But I think we're all very comfy with like the extremes. We just don't know how to settle into that middle ground of healthy.
We don't even really see those stories told, because the way that we even talk about love, it's akin to spontaneous combustion rather than the kindling of a fire. The kindling of a fire is a very different process from waiting for fucking magic. Literally waiting, like, I think maybe lightning might strike, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you had to rely on fire for anything, and you were like, we don't know how to make it. We just pounce on it when it's flaming, and then we get burnt up, and then it goes out, and we just keep going. We just wait for another one.
The sky to open up and zap it down from heaven.
I mean, it really is like our if you sort of examine and analyze and explore our cultural teachings about love, they're pitifully incoherent. Oh, yeah. They're just like, there's just no guidance there. And I actually feel like maybe part of the reason those years for me were the darkest, now that I think about it, is probably that, maybe as much as anything. Because what you first start to long for, I mean, the reason that crushes even are a thing is because really you're starting to feel that first spark that could be kindled into feelings of affection and real lasting love if it happens, once you gain maturity and if it's the right person. But, we don't have that. All we have is just these fleeting, ridiculous, childish notions of love that adults think are mature if you just add sex. And it's like, that's not. It's actually even more immature. Like that logo that says mature. Explicit content, it should say immature. It's war and violence and sex. That shit is childish. It's true. I'm sorry. Anyway, I could
just keep going. No, keep going. Do it.
Yeah,
Go for it. This is powerful.
I'm gonna put a little button on it. With one of my cousins told me this once. I had like a decade-long phase of that, of like only being like interested in like a push-pull. If it was stable, I wasn't interested. And one of my cousins pulled me aside once, and he was like, "Nava, you are doing the wrong thing. Like you are investing in the wrong men. Ooh. You have to evaluate this." And he said, you're looking for excitement and you're confusing it. And he said, there's nothing more exciting than a stable marriage. And I've never forgotten that. And I think that that's so beautiful. Yeah. It took me like 3 more years after that conversation.
I didn't listen, but it was good.
Doing that. Oh, no, I was just like, that's not what I'm doing. I love Greg. Like, I have to be with Greg. But
I'm different. This is a different situation. But I get it. No, that does make sense.
Typically, you'd be right. Normally, you'd be right.
Yeah.
However,
you don't know Greg.
This is Juliet time.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah. Wow, that took a hard right. I like that.